So Mayor Gerard Landry is the current mayor of Denham Springs and has been serving the community since 2014 with dedication and commitment. A veteran of the U.S. Army with a successful career in the grocery industry, Landry is the Chief Administrative Officer in the city, overseeing all city departments and managing a budget of over $20 million with around 170 employees. Mayor Landry is a U.S. Army veteran, having served with the 43rd Garrison Unit. In addition to his duties as mayor, he actively serves on various boards, including the Denham Springs Sewage District No. 1, the Denham Springs Economic Development Corporation, Municipal Police Employees Retirement, Livingston Economic Development Council, Louisiana Executive Board of Aging as well. He's also a past member of the Council on Aging Advisory Board and Denham Springs Planning Executive Commission. 18 months after being in office, 75% of the city was inundated with flooding from an unnamed storm. 24 inches of rain fell, resulting in the low to peak at 46.2 feet, 17 feet above flood stage. With the help of FEMA, the state community members, the city embarked on creating a long-term community recovery plan under the guidance of FEMA's National Disaster Recovery Framework. So Kim Marisek with CPEX helped secure Mayor Landry's stake to us. They gave us talking points, so they did a little research and some of the work that he's done. Certainly the work following the storms of 2016, and that was an incredible scare which brought almost $1 billion of recovery dollars to the state. Many planners have worked in communities following disasters, and those communities are different. Some of the specifics following this flood: over 3,000 structures flooded with 18 inches or more of water, out of 4,000 structures total. So again, that's 75% of the entire city. 500 structures were substantially damaged, which means damage was over 50% of the value of the structures. As well, the FEMA-led recovery process, this is a process that has really been perfected, unfortunately, in Louisiana over the last 2 decades. But this is a process that included 84 steering or subcommittee meetings, 3 community meetings, focus groups, interviews, and a large effort in social media, so really involving as many of the members of the community as possible. The final plan includes recommendations ranging from drainage improvement, emergency management solutions, economic development activities like mobility improvements, and Main Street revitalization. As many of you know, the 2016 floods led to the incredible funding opportunity with the Louisiana Watershed Initiative. Mayor Landry worked with LSU planners to develop a plan for a concentration of repetitive loss properties in Denham Springs, which helped secure funding from the Watershed Initiative's voluntary buyout program. Since this initial planning process following the storm, Denham Springs has also completed a bike and pedestrian master plan in partnership with the DOTD and with CRPC. The plan includes major recommendations for mobility improvements as well as a draft complete streets ordinance for adoption. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mayor Landry to speak to us at our annual planning conference to give some information about his experience with planning, maybe how elected officials are closer with planning, certainly after the scans, and in disaster recovery, and we'll hopefully got some time for Q&A. So Mayor Landry.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Man, that guy's pretty impressive, right? Well, the way he put it makes me sound pretty darn good, but I tell you what, it's not me. It's supposed to have. I have 170 employees. We do have about $24 million budget now, and they do all the work. The only thing I did was land elections 10 years ago, right? The night of the election, my wife came to me right after we got the results, and she said, "Well, I got good news and bad news." I said, "What's that, sweetheart?" "Well, we'll win the election." "Well, what's the bad news?" We'll win the election. Because you don't know what you're getting into when you run for office if you're not involved extensively beforehand. I worked in the city government, working in maybe as a council person. And so it was definitely learning experience for myself and my family. But here we are 10 years later. I've got about 2 years and 2 months left to go. And it's not because I'm quitting, it's because I will be 74 years old, then I'll want to retire. So I'll take advantage of that, do so. But planning is really near and dear to my heart. I didn't realize it was going to be that important until this young lady, Miss Kim, came to see me when she was working for CRPC, and that was in 2015. It's when we had our first visit. They talked about the importance of planning and working through CRPC. And it wasn't so much disaster planning as much as just planning to see where we wanted to go with the city. A year and a half later, then we had the flood of 16, which was total devastation for the city. And then a lot of other places as well. Thank goodness there was no loss of life in the city. We lost one person right outside the city limits. So we were very fortunate in that respect. Whenever you go through a disaster like that, then you start to meet some of our famous friends from FEMA. And I won't go any further than those folks really try hard. It's a pretty cumbersome system to navigate. It's very difficult to navigate. You have to have a consultant that you can hire. But we hired two that guide you through the process. And you know what? Here we are 8 years later. And if you set aside the pain and suffering, loss of all the memories, lost all of your furniture and your stuff, right? Lose all that stuff. It's different. It's not all of it. You know, one of my friends, my wife called, she was one of the first ones that got back to her house after it was repaired. And Marion said, "Oh, I know you're so glad that you're back in your house." She said, "Yeah, I am. But I feel like I'm living in a Holiday Inn." Because you don't have your grandkids come to visit and they won't find their toy box that they hadn't found at all and get a closet where they can drag out their stuff and play every time. And that all changes. I mean, there's several keepsakes that we have that are very dear to us that we still have not found. And so it's very difficult to go through. The other planner was Miss Sandra Dutt. Sandra was working for OCD at the time, and she came to visit with me at City Hall. And she brought 22 subject matter experts. Oh, my Lord. Yeah. That's all. And I had my staff with me as well. And I looked at her like deer in the headlights and said, "What in the world are you talking about?" So I said, "Come back next week. Let me kind of digest what you just said, and we'll figure it out." So she did. Came back with a smaller group. And now I was able to think about what she was talking about, which was planning for the future, how to recover and follow the National Disaster Recovery Framework. Again, that's a subset of FEMA. It's difficult to interpret sometimes. But if you take your time and you use your consultants, you can make things happen. I think that's what we were successful in doing. We've had 3 separate community meetings. We had several good volunteers come forward to help us as well. And I was told by some of my friends here in Baton Rouge, you will have these meetings, it's going to be high school, you may have close to 30 people show up, that's going to be it. I think we had 800 citizens show up. Because they realized that we want their opinions, we want their thoughts, we want their wishes of what we're going to do to recover. You hired me, we use this, they wanted to do a school bus, we drive in a school bus, it's one of the advertisements for these meetings. Well, they did listen to me. But the thing was, you hired me as your mayor. You elected me to do a job for you. And you elected me to drive that bus. So I'll go to the citizens to be the GPS. You tell me where you want to go and what you want to do. And at the end of all those meetings, we came up with a Denham Strong site. It is on the internet. And we follow that plan every time that we tolerate. It keeps coming up over again, over and over again. But the rewards come because you have a plan, because you're thought through the process. A lot to make things happen. There's a federal dollars are there. They give you the doubts on it. You have to go look for it sometimes, but sometimes they just pop up. Oh, okay, well, maybe we could use this for this, right? Just 2 years ago, Louisiana Watershed Initiative came to Kansas and said, we want to identify a block of severe repetitive loss properties so that we can give these folks the option to buy their houses, buy their property, and they give you the property to do with as you please. Well, that particular piece of property that we're talking about is Spring Park. It's called the Spring Park buyout. But we got those folks over at the site, and I brought my Denham Strong plan. And in that plan was the revitalization of Spring Park. We wanted to expand and make it nicer. So when she saw the plan, she said, "Let me go back to the governor. I think I can get you some more money." So she got me $10 million to buy out severe repetitive houses in that area. Right now, we have purchased 28 or 29 and demoed all of those out of the city on that property. Now they're on phase 3, so there's another half of those 8 or 9 that they're still working on. So that's going to open up all that vacant land for the expansion of the park. And then there was another grant that came through that specifically for parks. We applied for it. Yeah, that's another $2 million. So if you continue to work the system, you continue to plan ahead, then you can apply for these grants. And you have to apply for them while people are still ready to give you money because you just went through this catastrophic event. Better have a lab place to try and get it done. So if you can help somebody pre-plan, you'll never be able to pre-plan for a specific disaster. What's it going to be next time? So an asteroid that's going to fall out the sky, it's going to be a train wreck. You just go straight around, you just don't know what it's going to be, right? But there has to be a better connection between planners, disaster planners, and electeds. The electeds are like, they don't know what we're doing. But you guys do, so we have to figure out a way to get those groups together and try to do some pre-planning. And maybe a step up from just having a conference at the later, like the LMA conference every year, twice a year. Maybe some local visits by local planners that go to there and say, look, this is what you need to do. And if you need to, you can call Gerard Landry over their trips and tell you how it works for them. Now, since this disaster has happened, since we've been, I think, fairly successful in our recovery, I've been asked to go speak to several different groups. I've been over to Houston when they had the 50 inches of rain right after us, right? And first they have said was, you know what? Feel for you. Looks like how they feel. We actually had 31 inches of rain in 24 hours. They had 50 in 24 hours. And the light at the end of the tunnel is not the train coming to you. It is the way out. You have to go through it. And you have to, but FEMA will drag you through it. And that makes you pay it is a challenge. But you have to go through it. You have to work the system the best way that you can. Because you can't be successful if you do that. And I've had the same conversation with that presentation here. I've worked with FEMA and Sandra just in time. Recovery. I've been in Landville, Bellington, several different places. There's several other invitations that I've had turned out because I still work for the City of Denham Springs. All right, we go travel across the country. But there's always a way with internet phone calls to make things happen and try to help out America something. Because several mayors reached out to me and kind of gave me some guidance during the weeks and months following our session. Yeah. So there's lots of things that we learned along the way. And, again, I'm here for any elected that is as a board and all the City of Denham Springs training. Okay. So now I'm going to show our time. So I really love Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, please. Yes, sir.
The park area you mentioned where you're buying out the homes, is part of the plan to make that a water retention area in the event of a little flood?
That's one of the possibilities because there's one specific piece of property there that was the old First Baptist Church. That's a pretty substantial piece of property. And that was one of the features that we talked about. If there's something like a skateboard park is what the LSU kids came up with in these architecture class. So a lot more to do some feature that sort of thing. Go ahead. Thank you. Yes, sir. Right. Yes, ma'am.
What do you think is the bit of a big question that probably doesn't serve a short answer, but three answers for it. That is the number one thing they smell like they like so. Chicago's plate. It's too many times to see it. Little land, it's not shot. Nobody respects.
Unfortunately, my old office at the old city over before it flooded cut a lot of those things on the shelf as well. So if you're going to spend the time or you're going to spend the money to do a plan, you need to call so that you just have to do it. Why waste your time?
Nice.
And that's the hardest thing for elected. Look, I'm not a politician. Politicians hear things, and they ignore it. They say things, then they ignore it, right? So we have to make sure that we elect folks that are willing to put in the time and do the work. And that's up to you guys as voters. You make sure you get involved in your local elections. Make sure you counsel people. Make sure your mayors are responsive to you. Don't let me politicians venom. I don't play the game. I think people that don't do well, I don't play the game. I don't have time. I have too much work to do.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Certainly.
So beyond following a plan, do you have any advice how planners can just make the case for planning in general? So planning can be rigid. A lot of times we butt heads with city managers, elected officials. on just doing the work that it takes to get to a project. Does he advise someone?
Well, I think common sense. And it's not this grandiose plan that's unattainable. And not to say anything about the gentleman here that just talked about the bicycle plan, but that's still out. It's a lot of time and a lot of work to make it work. I've only got 7.5 square miles. It's not that difficult to do, right? That's about right. But because we did it, and because we shared it with Baton Rouge and we shared it with Livingston, now the adjoining parishes want to have bike that lane as well. And that would be wonderful for connectivity, right? He talked about driving out Florida Boulevard, and it was kind of tough to get to Denham Springs, but you can't do it, right? Oh, yeah. But if we had a good, strong bike that lane that connected all the parishes, it would be great. And it's federal dollars, right? But you'd have to make that connection with the elected to make sure that the PMAS understand why he needs to buy it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yes, ma'am.
If you were going to try to convince another area is the value, like, what would be some of the benefits? What would you say? This is what I think that the state exists. Take that budgets on.
It's not his job to dream up projects. It's the citizen's job to dream it. It could listen.
Do it, then that becomes part of the plan.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. You know, there's
Wonder what happens next on that plan is.
sometimes you could just call them up and look, listen to you folks, okay? Just listen to your citizens, because that's who you work for. You know, I didn't get elected to tell people what, I got elected to implement what you want me to do. And that's where politicians and electeds are different. And I mean, I won't go on even sitting to probably the other guy, but I was asked by people that were talking to this guy because he was having a difficult time after a while. That I went down there and spoke to him. This guy was lost as a goose. And I said, well, he didn't win the next election either. Okay. But I thought, I made the effort. You know, some politicians are hard to yes.
The buyouts were funded through LWI.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There might be more flexibility on FEMA buyouts in terms of the offers to property owners, but how did the conversation go when people were sent?
LWI was much easier to work with because it was sculpture. It was plain. He was given millions of dollars for buyout for the state. There were like 7 different areas that he chose to put in the buyouts. Where a lot of them were selected as one. Thank goodness. The FEMA buyouts, where she got a GP every year that she can ask people to adopt after elevations or acquisitions. And we push that too. We work on those every year as well. Over at City Hall, I invite people to come. I have the vendor show up to try to get them down. And I think with those, there's probably 8 or 10 that we've had done since the flood through the HFGB.
Were property owners acceptance of a buyout? I mean, I know it was voluntary, but
I wasn't going to force them to have that forced anybody to do anything. But the LWI buyout was so lucrative because it gave you appraised value of the property. And most of these things have already been, no, I did they were going to have it. But you couldn't sell it because of what it looked like. You couldn't sell it because nobody could afford the insurance premiums because it was definitely in a flood zone. And so it was just a win-win for everybody. And so it was a gift to the city of Denham Springs as far as I'm concerned. Yes, ma'am.
I think you guys did your own local hazard mitigation plan. Is that right?
Yes.
How have you seen, have you seen projects come out of that, or has that been beneficial to have the hazard mitigation in the city quick scale?
This also allowed us to apply for grant money, to use the hazard mitigation plan. And so we do have some engineers on explore funding for, I think it's 2 large major drainage canals with the city. And so we're looking forward to hopefully get the funding for that in the near future.
So you feel like that was better for Denham Springs, that just more beneficial than kind of just parish-wide plan? You see more benefit?
Well, the truth is, so there's a parish-wide plan as well. The unfortunate thing is, so the parish today, Gerard Landry's got some funding available to desag and clean up all the rivers. Unfortunately, it was just before hurricane came through, we had to go back and do it all again. But the lease is going to help, and there's some other issues in the south of Denham that came in, the weird if people want to dredge the coping, which is started being done by the scenic byway designation was for good, so that work could be done. Dredging is such a subject. I know forget the name of the report. They do know the two-area report that came out right after the flood talked about the dredging of the 80 River. It's really not feasible because where it drained, the lake that it drains into is only 7 foot deep. So if you could dredge the 80 to 50s, then it's still not going to drain. So there's a lot of common sense things that have to go in place, right? Anybody else?
I have a question. Yes, so clearly you've accomplished a lot as the small town, which is incredible. And I think we must start in lots of officials like you. Think about, can you talk about how do you build that type of capacity in this all community with limited resources, limited staff, not city staff, for sure.
I think it's just really, you have to work it every single day. And you have to have the same level of enthusiasm that you want your people to. And you have to respect what they do. I had a Chamber of Commerce, yesterday on Monday for leadership living. It's a year-long project where all these young folks in the chamber, they toured the whole parish, learned about all things that municipalities do, what the parish does, what the sheriff's office takes, and what it's an educational process for them. So I had them from Renzo in 45 minutes. Well, I had every one of my employees standing behind, said, this is what makes our municipality run. This is BJ Clark, he runs the wastewater treatment. He's got 17 employees. His budget is $2.4 million. Here's my police guy. He's got 40 employees. His budget is $4.4 million. And when I finish it up, there's your $24 million a year that we spend in the city. There's 271 years of experience just in the supervision. I'm just a poor guy against them, just to hurt them. I thought all caps, right, from hurt them all in. But they do such a fabulous job. They make me look good. So you have to be able to have a little bit of enthusiasm and a lot of motivational speaking to your breed. For talk out to, we're all in this thing together. When I get in my car, you get in my car 3 times a day and ride out and see what the guys are doing. And I'll go stand, lean, and look at all, just like they are.
I thought that.
You know what this sort of, I'm just an age-old question. Does anybody know why you always got 4 or 5 guys looking in the holes? Because you got to have one guy that knows something about electricity, one guy that knows that there's an underground water, and what does the guy work with, right? So all these guys, that's just in case something happens, is for safety reasons. So